All right, got it. And we are live on Facebook. Just double checking. I just do all my double check. There we are. We have some cute guests there. Let's go to speaker view and record. And we'll be ready to rock and roll. Oh shoot, your husband Ward wants the Zoom link. He just texted it to me. If you're listening live, Ward, you can go to the kwaustinnw.com and it's there. It's right there, the Playing to Win link. Otherwise, I'll try to do it in a second. But hopefully he's watching live.
I can send it to him also.
Can you send it to him?
He's in the other room.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, biggest fan. I love that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start recording. All right. Well, thank you for your patience. For those of you that have been watching the live stream, we've got a listener on live stream and that will grow. We've got some listeners in our studio audience, but welcome to this week's episode of Playing to Win, which then gets edited for the second half. I'm very excited about my guest today, Kathryne Roddam. And Kathryne is somebody that has really stood out for me. The last couple of years that I've been working closely with the North. Kathryne actually was a school teacher for 27 years and made the leap to real estate. And in her second year in real estate, did $1 million GCI, which is a goal that many agents have their entire career that never hit that. And so and she's the nicest person you could absolutely meet. So I'm just excited to welcome to the show. Welcome, Kathryne, to the show today.
Thank you, Melanie. And it is such an honor to speak with you today. I've listened to almost all of the podcasts that you've done, and just to be a part of this just blows my mind away. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. And girl, you have earned that seat. You have earned that seat. And shout out to your husband, Ward, who hopefully is logging in any minute now, because he is your biggest fan. And when I look at you guys, it's really a partnership, right? So I love to introduce amazing people to the world. That's the whole reason why I do this live and I do this podcast. And I want them to see your amazing story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Kathryne is, and then we'll jump into other topics.
Okay. So like you said, I did teach school for 27 years. I reflect back to my very first year as a teacher. I made $17,000 a year. And, fast forward, I taught elementary school. I taught middle school my last 15 years of teaching, and then became an instructional specialist, and kind of just capped out, at 50,000 is pretty much was the limit that I could make. And I knew that I wasn't ready to retire, and I'm too much of a
not work.
I don't do well with idle time. And so I got my real estate license, actually my last year of teaching, so that when I retired in May of 2019, I joined Keller Williams in June, and got on the amazing Lisa Kossov team in July with Merit Properties. I'll never forget meeting Paulie C. He was the team leader at the time.
Yes.
That I went to interview, even though I didn't go to any other brokerages at all. I had no desire to. I knew where I wanted to go. And I met Ruth, I met Melanie Abraham, Michelle, and I left there that day feeling like this is the culture, this is the family, this feels right. And Lisa had told me years ago when she first joined Keller Williams, she said, I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm never leaving. And so I left that day feeling just feeling inside like this is the right decision.
Oh, I love that. And Lisa is quite an influence for you, right? In inspiring you to do this. Let's talk about that relationship, because we all know and love Lisa Kossov here at KW in Austin, and she's just been around a really long time and been a very successful role model for many of us. How do you know each other?
So Lisa and I went to the same high school. She's a couple of years older than me. Actually, Ward, my husband, and her graduated high school together. So I've known Lisa my whole life. I know how successful she's been. She is the rock star. Her mother is also a local realtor in the hometown that I live in, Rockdale, and she lives just a few doors down.
Quite the celebrity there, I hear.
Yes, she's an icon. She's absolutely Judith Matula. She's absolutely amazing. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And Lisa has mentored me. I could not have done it without her at all. I mean, she was there to answer all my phone calls. And if she wasn't, bless her heart, I called her mom. And then, and she helped me too. And so truly, Lisa said when she first joined Keller Williams, she had a mentor, and she's paying it forward. And that's what I love about Keller Williams. People come from contribution. I've always had anyone that I've asked a question to help me. And that just feels good. And I want to be able to pass that along too.
I love that. And your energy is just infectious. You have this, that's how you are all the time. However, I know if you're just listening to us later on the podcast, you just overflow with this positivity. I wish you could see her lovely smile, but you just radiate kindness. And I love when good people win. I really love when good people win. That's my favorite, actually. I think it's not just about the winning. I think it's about being great and kind and winning. I think that's we have so many people in the world, and I love to feature those people. So you, my dear, are one of those in my eyes, because I've done this so long and have seen many talent in my career. And it's not every day, though, that somebody does $1 million GCI their second year. That's a phenomenal, amazing accomplishment. Now, I know you give a lot of credit to, you had people to go to, but how do you think that happened? Like, because, you go from being in a teacher environment for 27 years, that's very different, right? And you move to a very entrepreneurial, 100% based on results, which is kind of refreshing, right? Because you're actually getting paid for the work that you do. But let's talk about that, because that's an anomaly. How did you get into business so quickly?
I would say it's all about the relationships. And coming from a small town, 5,500 people population at the time, but we are expected to grow in the next 7 to 10 years, 70 to 100,000 people. So stay tuned for Rockdale, Texas, because it will be on the map. But it's about relationships. And I think I just naturally, you talked about the kindness. That's the way we were raised. Both my husband's parents and my parents have been icons in our community. They've been well respected. They've all passed away, but they left us a legacy. And so my husband and I, try to instill in our children the importance of giving back to the community. And my husband was a volunteer firefighter for 35 years, a fire chief for 15 years, I think. And we just try to give back as much as possible and stay involved in our community. So I think that part, knowing that we give back, and we also think that people, if they know me and they can trust me with the biggest investment of their life, then I'm going to be their go-to realtor.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's nothing more important in the field that we all do than relationships, right? And not everybody has those, but even with that, even with you knowing so many people and the influence of your parents and Lisa and all these people, right? There's still people, though, that would get their license, my dear, and have all of those connections and not be successful, or not to that level. So did you get real purposeful on systems, or how did you connect with so many people that you were in the business? Because you had to get in the way of opportunity, obviously, to hit the numbers that you did. What did you do? Did you start hitting open houses? Did you reach out to your database and say, hey, I just got my real estate license? Let's talk about that a little bit, because that number is too big to just gloss over and say just relationships. What did you actually do? I would love to hear that.
I plugged into every bit of Keller Williams education. And of course, being an educator my whole life, that was very important to me. I loved the Ignite training courses in person. I felt like I got a lot out of that. I participated in Power Hour with Polly C.
Nice.
Got right out of that comfort zone real quickly and practiced scripts. And yes, I did open houses. And I live about an hour from Austin, but I would do open houses anywhere Cedar Park, Liberty Hill. I'd go out to Lago Vista. It didn't matter. I did at least 4 to 5 open houses a month my first year. And, sometimes I would have nobody show up. And sometimes we would have a lot of people show up. But I would literally get up about 6 o'clock in the morning. I would drive to Cedar Park. I would place all my signs out. Then I would drive back home. I don't know why, but I could have taken some clothes or whatever. But anyway, that's the way I did it. And I came back home. Then I would get refreshed and get changed and get ready. And then I would go to and do the open house. So open houses, absolutely. I got my first buyer from an open house. It wasn't the open house that I was actually hosting, but found them one later on. And I'll never forget, after, I think it was during Power Hour, one of the breaks, I was talking with Polly C, and I said, I'm a new realtor. There's really some established realtors already in my area, in Milam County, in Rockdale. I don't know. And he goes, well, how many people are there? And I said, well, we have about 5,500. He said, there's enough to go around. I didn't really believe him, but yeah, there is. There is.
The way well, obviously you've proven so, right? And it's also changed the way you look at things, and things you look at change. By the way, Paul Campanaro, if you hear of him, he is amazing. And he is now has a mega agent team. So he was a team leader here, just so that you guys know, he was team leader here for 3.5 years. I was his OP. And when I came up north, he was ready to move back into sales. He's still doing Power Hour every Wednesday at 8 a.m. in person. If anybody would like to join us here in Austin, just check with us and we'd love to have you.
I encourage people to do that.
Yes.
I know he does it virtually sometimes too. And I've told my daughter, who is now on our real estate team, I'm like, get yourself there in person, because it's a game changer.
Yeah. Wednesdays at 8 in person at the Northwest Market Center. So we need to get her there. Exactly. Yes. Which, by the way, your daughter has now joined us too.
Yes, she has. She got her real estate license about 5 or 6 months ago, I believe. And she is off to a great start. I believe she's already closed six transactions, and she just is about to list 2 more properties in Taylor, Texas. So
amazing.
Very proud of her.
Okay, so let's talk about mindset, because right now the market has changed significantly. And, a lot of people could say, oh, well, because of this or because of that, right? Why many people were successful the last couple of years. And we all know, we know the truth to that. We know that a lot of people's numbers were bigger than normal because, price points went up and stuff like that. But there are still a lot of people that worked with clients that would write 30 offers and still not win a property because it was so competitive. So it's been a competitive, it's just now a different skill set that we need now, right? How are you making that adjustment in the new normal? Because for Courtney, your daughter, I mean, she doesn't know any better. So this is like, woohoo, this is a great market, right? And, I've got so many agents, and depending on who I talk to, they'll tell me what's going on in the market. But you just told me that your daughter, who's brand new to real estate, has done 5 transactions in the last 5 months, 5 or 6, and she's got 2 more listings coming live. Right? It's a mindset thing, and she doesn't know any better. So how's that adjustment going for you? Have you had to do anything differently? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So we as a team have tried to stay very consistent, persistent, and really I'm laser focused. So, and we work a lot of hours. Right now we're working 7 days a week. Sometimes 14 hours a day. And that's our choice. That's our sacrifice that we're making right now. But I couldn't be doing it with anyone better than my husband, who is my operations and marketing guy, and started off as the sign guy. He quit his job a couple of years ago to work full time with me side by side. And it's been great. And so we've tried to make some changes in our marketing to adjust to the market. We do a lot of social media. He's real big into social media. Thank goodness that he can take care of all of that. I'm a little challenged at times when it comes to that. But he does a great job with our marketing. It's just teamwork. And I think also being able to leverage, I had to let go of some things, which for me, I like to try to do everything. And I realized I can't do everything. And so I have some wonderful, could not live without them, transaction coordinators, Alicia, Nicole, and Erin. They are absolutely spectacular. Have a bookkeeper now that does all my books. We have our CPA that I never really needed a CPA before, but now I do. Our financial advisor, which we reflect on that. The financial advisor, he was a friend of ours, family friend for years, and he would come to our house when our girls were little, and he'd say, you need to invest in, blah, blah, blah. And we just don't have the money to invest or anything right now. So a couple of years ago, when things kind of turned around, we went to him and, we stayed loyal to him and said, hey, we're ready now. We've got the funds and we're ready to invest, and we trust you, with our money. But, again, that just goes back to, probably 15 years ago, he was door knocking at my door, and, I answered the door. I'm like, oh, we just can't do it right now. But, 15 years later, yeah, it's delayed gratification, but it's kind of like that in the real estate market also, that you just, it might not happen next year, but it might happen a few years down the road. And I truly believe in that. And I think having that mindset, maybe now is not the right time for some people to buy or some people to sell. It could be, but maybe it's not. But down the road, they'll think of me.
I love, that's the long play, right? Real estate is always the long play. Anything that you're doing at a high level is the long play, right? And anybody that's looking for a quick fix or whatever, it kind of burns out. Honestly, I had a guest on the show a couple weeks ago, Robert Mesh. He's a mega agent out of Plano, Frisco area, and he has an expansion team with us here in Austin. But he said he had 2 clients that reached out to him that he had contacted. One, he met at a networking event like 15 years ago and called him and said, Robert, I'm ready. And it had been 15 years. So there's such a power in what you just said. And yet, my dear, and yet your results came a lot faster than most people's, right? So what I heard you just say is that you've quickly embraced the power of leverage, surrounding yourself with good people, like that. Get off your plate what's not your most important and highest best use of time, because you know what? There's no prize at the end of your life that you did it all. There's just not, right, Tamara? I think she can agree. There's no prize at the end of your life that said, wow, I did my contract to close and I did my accounting. I did all that. Great. And you had a very mediocre, okay, maybe you had a good life, but you can have a great life when you leverage and bring in really talented people that do what they do at a high level, so you can do what you do at a high level. And I love that you've embraced that, because I know you've been on a team, but you've really run your own business with your husband, right? And I love that as an example that somebody so quickly understands that concept. Let's go back though let's talk about your business a little bit. And I love that answer about leverage quickly, because I'll tell you what, I've talked to agents for years and they won't let go of some of those things. And they're their own ceiling. You're your own ceiling of growth if you don't allow yourself to bring in help. Right? Because everybody has their maximum, like their ceiling, what they can achieve by themselves. And your life can only get bigger when you take other people with you. And I love that you've embraced that. But I want to talk more about your business, because you do a lot of different kinds of business, right? You sold this, you listed this a historical hotel. I believe you dabble farm and ranch. Let's talk about what does your portfolio of clientele look like? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So last year, I would say, it was almost half and half, residential and farm and ranch, and a few little local, when I say commercial properties, I'm talking in Rockdale.
Sure.
I have referred all my other commercial out to KW agents in the Austin area. That's not my niche. I'm well aware of that. But I've lived here my whole life, so I know this place like the back of my hand. And I'm going to go back to, like, how did all this happen so fast? I think there's a lot of different things that happened. I think of a few scenarios. One was I showed up I was representing the seller. I showed up at a septic inspection where they pump the septic and they inspect it in the pouring down rain at 8 a.m. It was cold. And that made an impression, obviously, on the seller. And then I had some interviews with a big company called Luminant. who they were also interviewing other agents, and they got wind that this is the kind of person I am. Like, I'll go above and beyond. I will do whatever it takes. I'm a problem solver. So I'm, there in the pouring down rain, watching the septic tank get pumped. Not glamorous
We
thing.
can all have a visual of that.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up getting the listings from Luminant, which ended up being like over 1,200 acres, $30 million worth of property, 18
Wow.
tracts of land, which we have all under contract, but 3. So I just think it's things like that. And I had another client that it was farm and ranch. We met him out on the dirt road in the summer. I had open toe shoes on. I'm not sure why I did that, but I did. And we're standing on the dirt road. My husband Ward, and we're in the middle of the road. And this property it's beautiful. It's by Turkey Creek between Rockdale and Thorndale, but it had some access issues. There was a bridge that had collapsed in 2015 during the flood, but beautiful property. It has a farmhouse on the hill. Very difficult to sell. I got it sold. And that seller told me, he says, if you can sell Turkey Creek, you can sell anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep trying, for sure.
Oh, I love that.
He entrusted in me, he and his wife, which are great, salt of the earth, down, just wonderful, wonderful people. They called me after I sold that, and they said, we'd like to meet with you. We have some other properties that we want to sell. And I said, okay. So they bring me 10 different property IDs. We meet at my kitchen table. We go over all the properties, and they said, we'll probably want to just sell these 7. I said, all right. He said, but we want to do a 1031. And so I learned a lot about 1031s that year.
I bet you did.
1031 exchange. So the 7 properties in exchange for one massive property, which was about 788 acres. And I did it. I did it in less than 90 days. I did it less than 90 days. All
Wow.
7 sold. And then I ended up representing them as a buyer's agent for this beautiful 788 acre ranch, home, pool, horse racetrack, barn, stalls. I mean, it was just ideal for their cattle business and for their 3 daughters that ride horses. And I would have never dreamed it in a million years. I would have never dreamed it. And I never even advertised or promoted myself that I did that. I was extremely proud of myself, but I did not want to come across as boastful. Like, I just sold Valhalla Farms. I mean,
Yeah.
And that was the biggest, at that time, the biggest transaction that I'd ever done. So with that, those people entrusting in me, and then of course I got referrals from them. Their family members, and then their friends, and it was just one thing to the next, and truly a whirlwind. I had multiple offers on all 7 of those tracts of land, which made it even more, challenging, but how rewarding it was for me.
There's so many in there in that little, what you just said, that I want to dig into a little bit. So first of all, for those of you who are listening on the call right now, 1031 exchange is something where you're taking income properties, or like, it can't be your primary, it's like an income producing property, and you're selling that. And there's a very small time window gap where you invest that into another investment property. Okay. So you can like you went 7 properties into one bigger one, because you can do that, right? Because it's a business to business kind of thing. So so there's timelines, it's tricky. So you have to sell these in a certain, especially if you're coordinating 7 properties to sell into the one big one. I mean, that had to take a lot of focus and everything like that. But I want to go back to, so that's just so people know what a 1031 exchange is, which are really cool things, because there's tax benefits for the owners to do that. So it's a way to not be getting capital tax gains. And I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA, full disclosure, but that's just the basic 1031 for dummies from Melanie Kenneman today. So Turkey Creek, let's go back to that. You said It was a piece of property. Was it just land, or was there something on it?
It was land. The creek ran through pretty much the middle of the property. There was an old farmhouse that was up there. There was a couple of tanks, as we call them, or ponds. I'll never forget my photographer. One time I sent him out to a property and I said, I need you to make sure you take a picture of the tank. And he came back, he said, I didn't see a tank. And I said, like a pond. He goes, oh yeah. He was thinking like
I would think a tank
this was
too.
my California, Austin city boy, but he's awesome. I love him. He's done a great job. No, but that property, it was difficult to sell just
because you couldn't even get to it.
Yes. And it was, the neighbor across the creek was nice enough to allow us just access to show it, but there was no easement that was going to be conveyed or anything like that. But we're standing there. I'm going to go back to that story because we're standing there in the middle of the road, and the client says, kind of elbows me, and he was like pointing, and there's a rattlesnake. Okay, real close.
Oh boy, putting your life. This is the thing. People don't realize real estate's risky business.
So, and I said, open toe shoes, not ever again. So I'm standing there in the middle of the road with Ward, with the clients, and he elbows me. Well, I immediately get up into the truck, like on the very top of the truck, not just in the truck bed. I'm on the very top. Funny story. Ward has a gun because we're out in the country, and he attempts to shoot. He's probably going to kill me for saying this. He attempts to shoot.
Hi, Ward.
He attempts to shoot the rattlesnake, and it takes quite a few tries, like 5 or 6. Maybe 7.
But who's counting, right? But
yeah,
who's counting?
right. I'm like, just kill it. And long story short, we end up going to the ear doctor the next day because he has such a bad ringing in his ear.
From the shooting.
We get in the car and he's like, is the radio like staticky? I'm like, no. He goes, oh no. He said, I think I damaged my eardrum. So,
from that rattlesnake.
Turkey Creek was just
Turkey Creek
stories.
That is so funny. Well, that's showing property on land, right? That's a real
Yes.
thing. I mean, I had to learn that moving to Texas, and I'm pretty much in an office all the time. But man, just at my own house, I've had my own introduction to stuff like that, which is very new for me. But you think about that property. That property opened the door to so many other things because you took on the challenge of something that was very, quote unquote, hard to sell. You found a way to sell it, and then it opened up this huge opportunity for you, which again, you stepped up to the challenge and you succeeded. So when you look at that, and I love having you on this show because what I want our listeners to get is listen how grounded and just kind Kathryne is. She was in the teaching world for 27 years. And because of the way she treats people and how she shows up with her smarts and her being able to build character and being willing to take on challenges, know what she should, know what she shouldn't, know when to leverage it out to, like you said, commercial, the regular commercial, Austin, I got people for that, right? Like know what to take on and know what not to take on, but how it just it was like a trifecta for you. Saying yes to one thing and then proving yourself just open another door and another door. And that's how life is. It's like when an opportunity shows up and it's the right opportunity, right? You don't say yes to every opportunity, but you believed you could get that sold, right? I don't think you would have taken that on if you believed there was no way you could get it sold. And because you believed you could get it sold, you found a way and got it sold, which opened up a whole nother just door of opportunity for you.
Absolutely.
So when you look back at that, where do you think all of those gifts you have came from?
That's a really good question. I guess I just go back to my parents and the way that my parents raised me. They were just hardworking people, and I didn't know any difference. I grew up, we worked hard. If whatever you did it 100%. If it's sweeping the floor, you did it 100%. You didn't just halfway do something. So I really think it's just the values that my parents instilled in me.
That's awesome. And
my husband, the same value. So it really connected us well.
Yeah, you both show up the same way. Now, I'll bet you that if we rewound your life 5 years and watched you in your teaching world, right, you would show up the same way there.
I love teaching, and there wasn't one day that I dreaded ever going to work. I loved teaching. I loved kids. I loved seeing their progress. It's a little bit like real estate. There's a little bit of delayed gratification because you may not see it in the very beginning, but my goodness, by the end of the year, you see their growth that they've, accomplished. And now I have former students reaching out to me for real estate. And I had a really special one last January. They were about to go into a foreclosure. And we were like down to the wire, like maybe a week. And it wasn't a big deal. It was a $125,000 house. And I was able to help them. And so it's not about the money. It's about helping people. And that's really how I stay focused and grounded, I think, is it's about helping people. And, when I think about my kind of top 3 stories that I feel successful with the Turkey Creek and then the 1031 exchange, and then going to the opportunity to work and sell luminance properties. And then now, helping this family of not getting in foreclosure. I mean, that was just the icing on the cake. That just made me feel wonderful.
So there was they were going to lose their home in foreclosure and you were able to help them save it. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So they, I guess they had signed on with the COVID relief, that they would not have to make payments for X amount of days. And those days were already up. And they had said they didn't receive a letter in the mail, but, whatever. It was getting really bad. And we were waiting on title to do the search. And I had to make some special calls. I'm like, I really like, this is important. I know it's not a great big deal financially, but we need this to happen. And we have to have it closed by, such and such. And it did. So again, just helping people and coming from contribution. And again, I said this at the beginning, we give back. We give back to our community. Red Day, there was a challenge put out there on Red Day on the Dress for Success. And I didn't go in that day thinking I'm going to donate X amount of dollars. I knew I was going to make a contribution and donate, but not to the level that I did. But I just thought, you know what? This is the right thing to do. And that's what I love about Keller Williams is, KW Cares and Red Day. And I carry that over into our local community here where we give back all the time, whether we give back to local fire departments, because we kind of have a special bond with those. The listings that I have in Bastrop and Lee County, we've donated to their fire departments. They see my signs everywhere. I want them to know that, I'm a person that wants to give back to the community.
I love that. I just got chilly bumps when you brought up the Red Day thing. It had this flashback of that moment in that room where you and Donna Androoks.
Yes, Donna. Yes.
Yeah. Donna stood up and did the whole Dare to Care thing.
I know, I got it.
You just stood up and it was like the woman at Dress for Success couldn't believe it. She could not believe it. And what you two did in that room that day was so inspiring. I know Tamara was there. It was incredible. And I really believe that it's all about contribution. And the more people you help, the more you can't help but help yourself. And you're not doing it for that, right? You're not doing that for that at all. But it's this beautiful law of reciprocity is when you do good into the world and you really genuinely contribute to others and make other people's lives better. If that's your thing, which I believe that's your thing, it's definitely my thing. It comes back to you in different ways. You just don't even know. But I love the fact that you have that giving heart, because I think it's this abundant mindset. You see people, and I think this is really important conversation for what we're going through right now. We have inflation, cost of living, times are tough for people. And yet there's always someone we can help. And it doesn't have to be financial.
Correct.
Right? Helping others is such an important part of life, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I love that that's such a part of yours. And I just want to point that out, that if any of you are out there thinking, yeah, but I don't have this and I didn't do this and that, so I can't do that. There are so many things you can do.
Yeah, give your time. And, and that's what I would say to a new agent. If, they haven't, and it's expensive to get into real estate. Marketing is expensive. There's a lot of expenses that I know I didn't realize in the beginning, but if you don't have it financially, give your time, go volunteer. That's the greatest thing. And it's the greatest feeling.
And isn't that the greatest gift you can give somebody, is your time and your energy, right? And you just never know where your kindness will go, and helping somebody else along the way, how that will just trickle and trickle and trickle. I just love that so much. Okay, question I ask all my guests, Miss Kathryne, is what does playing to win look like to you?
Playing to win looks like determination and perseverance, just being consistent, not giving up, looking for solutions, because there is always a solution. It might not be what someone wants, but I really like being able to help problem solve and help clients know that we can make this work. We can make this a win-win. We just have to come up with sometimes a little bit more creative solution than what your typical is. And I think that's with this market that we're dealing with now. Definitely have to be some creative thinking, some creative financing, and I just go back to not giving up and just going all the way. I can't think of the name of the movie. Gosh, it's slipped my mind. They're on the football field, and they've got the guy blindfolded, and they're going all the way to the.
Oh yes, yeah.
The name of that movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, he doesn't know. He's like, keep going, don't
That's
quit,
like
don't quit, don't give up, don't give up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
is it called
Can't do
Waterboy?
it. Yeah. What is it? What is it
I
called?
know. I'm just kidding. I said, is it called Waterboy? But that's not. I'm joking. Come on, you can do it.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of what it is. You got that. He had that blindfold on, and he didn't think he could do it, and you just keep going and you stay focused, and that's what I think probably playing to win is for me, is to just keep on keeping on.
I love that. I get chills when I love that answer, and I love hearing people's different answers to that, because that's such a question that gets to your gut. Playing to win is different for everybody, right? And there's no right or wrong. They're all beautiful answers, and I love that answer, and that's so good. A question I want to ask you, and then Tamara and Silas and anybody listening in here on the chat, think about if you have a question for her, and I'll open it up. But what I love I love many things about your story, Kathryne, obviously, right? You know that. But what I love is just a few years ago, you were stuck at a $50,000 max income in a job that you probably might have continued doing had you had more earning potential, because you're just a giver and you're just a natural teacher at heart. We always say teachers make great real estate agents, by the way. What's your advice to people that feel stuck and feel that they've kind of maxed out in what they're doing and aren't feeling happy? What is your advice after just making that bold move yourself? What's your advice to them?
So are you asking like if they're in a different career at this point? Okay. I definitely would take the risk. I would take the leap of faith. And if you're feeling like that in your job, know that number one, real estate is not easy. Some people make it look easy. It's not
Amen.
easy. It's a lot of work. You're dealing with a lot of different people and personalities, and no two deals are exactly the same ever. Occasionally we'll get a real easy one. When I say easy, but there's some challenges for sure that, and you work hard for that. But my advice would be, if you are feeling like you are stuck in your current job, then whether it's moving to real estate or another career, why not? I mean, life is too short. Life is too short not to take that risk, take that opportunity. What's it going to hurt? If you go back, if you need to go back to what you were doing before, then you can do it. You can do it. But I definitely say take the risk, take the opportunity.
They say that there's a book about like the regrets of the dying or something like that. And they talk about the things, some of it's like, I worked too hard. I didn't spend enough time with my family or what different things. Right. But I feel like if it's something you're passionate about, right. I mean, I think regret is one of the worst things in life to carry with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better to have gone for it and failed and said, yeah, that's not what I thought, to have lived your life than to hold that in you and then build resentment that I didn't do it. Right. And you are such a great testament of somebody that just really bet on themselves and made the leap. Now, how about to people that have gotten in the business and are struggling right now? Any advice for them?
I would go back to Gary Keller's book, read Shift, read the MREA, just, stay with the systems that work. Don't try to recreate anything. Use leverage. If you're struggling with the contracts, paperwork side of it, or you're struggling with your business side of it, then, find people to help you. But number one, I think treat this as a business. This is my business. I time block every day. I mean, I'm up early every day, work late every day. And I treat it truly as a business.
Yeah. And I think that the last few years, we kind of got out of our habits, right? Our habits of focus, lead gen, follow up, really digging deeper, studying the market, all of those things, because we were moving so quickly. So I think this is a real opportunity for the people that want to end up on the other side of this and end up on the other side of this better than they've been before, right? There's opportunity there. I mean, your daughter's an example of this.
Right.
I mean, she just got in, she doesn't know any better. And look what she's doing. She's outperforming a lot of people. And so I love that. Okay. And then I'll open up to questions, but what are you most excited about in 2023?
We are excited about making a few changes. Not quite sure what that's going to look like yet, but we're expecting bigger things in 2023. We're very optimistic, very excited for 2023. We've been working on our business plan and looking forward to seeing just some different changes that we want to make and some adjustments that we want to make. We do think that, when I say we, my marketing guy, we think that some of the marketing techniques that we've used here locally, that some of the other realtors have kind of jumped on that bandwagon. So we want to be able to differentiate ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we're working on that as well. We're excited. We have big goals, and I think one thing Lisa told me at the very beginning, I think it was, she said, you need to listen to the podcast or read 10 times the power or whatever. You can go, don't narrow your thinking to this. So that has definitely opened up my mindset that anything's possible.
I love that.
Anything's
I love
possible.
that. Do we have any questions in our room here? And I'll look on Facebook real quick. So if you're on Facebook watching live, I'm just seeing a lot of fans that are watching and just giving comments like awesome and stuff like that. Are any questions in our room here? Go for it, Silesh. Silesh, then Tamara.
I don't have a question. I'm just speechless. Okay. I mean, it was an amazing story, and I see a lot of similarities with my journey as well as a lot of differences as well. So great to learn from her, and basically the super attitude that she has.
Amazing, huh? So Silesh was Rookie of the Year last year. He did 9 million in sales and written volume, and he didn't know a soul. He moved here in Austin right when the pandemic shut down and came from more of a tech background. And so it was interesting to see him launch in the middle of a pandemic where he didn't know anybody, and he found a way through investors. And I've had him on the show. And Silesh, thanks for being here. It's inspirational how everybody has a different yet similar path, and we can all learn from each other. So thanks for being on the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Amazing.
And congratulations again on Rookie of the Year. And I think both of us, it sounds like to surround ourselves with successful people, because we can learn so much from
Yes.
not just our coworkers, but the investors that you're dealing with. I deal with a lot of investors also, and just having those 2 ears wide open and just listening and learning. And, you know, it takes your breath away that sometimes you look around and you're like, I am in a room with millionaires. Like,
Yes.
how does this, you know, it's amazing.
Yes.
I have learned so many things from just listening.
Correct. Yeah. There's so much to learn, and every transaction you learn something. You know, with every transaction you learn something new.
Yeah, every transaction is so different, right?
Yes.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny, there was this director, because you guys know I worked in film before, real estate, and there was a director named Rolf Lucchini, and he was hilarious in Germany, and he always has a cigar, and he would say, there's 2 of these and 1 of these, and if you're on the podcast, I'm pointing to my ears and I'm pointing to my mouth. He's like, you will always learn more when you use these, you know, because we already know what we know, right? We already know what we know, but when we listen and learn, you can learn from everybody around you. Sometimes it's learning how not to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes the lesson is how not to be, but we can always learn from each other. So I love that. And I love that you're both so learning based. Tamara, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, Kathryne, I tell you what, this has been really good. Sometimes we're in the hustle and bustle of this, our careers and work, and I love that. I think it's important to stop and listen to our peers around us and what they're going through, where they came from, because so many times, we're just like with our rhinoceros, so with our head down and just moving forward, and it's like, hang on, take the time, stop, listen to this, and listen to their story, and then it kind of it almost grounds you. So thank you, Kathryne, for being willing to go on here and talk about this, because it grounds you back to go, okay, I got this. And even though you can call up a friend and you can just like, oh my gosh, whatever you're going through, or situations or whatever it may be, I think it's awesome to have you come on here and express it. So congratulations to you for being so amazing, and to taking the I guess kind of the bull by the horns, and not being scared to just go out there, because I love that driver personality. That's same as me, and I enjoy seeing other people succeed around me that do that. So kudos to you for taking that. And it's a funny story about the rattlesnake. That's funny.
Thank you, Tamara.
Yeah, Tamara's a perfect example of we knew her. She was a rep for 210 Home Warranty, and she was really in our offices all the time. And before you know it, she has her license and she's out there selling lakefront properties, right? And so talking about betting on yourself and making a move for yourself to improve your life, to have a bigger life. Tamara's living the same thing, and she's actually on our Agent Leadership Council. So she's in our top 7% of the office. So you guys are all such great models, all 3 of you that contributed. And Kathryne, last parting thoughts for our listeners today. What would you like to leave them with?
Couple of things. First of all, I'm very thankful for the support that I get from Keller Williams and from my family. We have 3 daughters. One is 33, and she is a nurse. No, let me get it right. 33. They'll kill me. Mom. I can just hear her. Mom.
Yeah.
Katie is 33, and she is a counselor, and she has 2 beautiful daughters, our first 2 granddaughters, and she's expecting her third daughter in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So I'll be headed south in a couple of weeks when the baby comes. So that's just super excited about that. And then our middle daughter is 31, and she's a nurse practitioner, and she has a 3-year-old daughter. And then our first grandson, Jet, he's 1. He just turned 1 in October. And then, of course, we have the baby of the family, Courtney, who's 26, who is now a realtor and on our team. So I'm super proud of my family. I feel like when you can raise successful children, and they're happy, and all the son-in-laws are good. So they're all good. All the son-in-laws are great. But it's just refreshing, and it feels great to know that you've raised successful children that have grown up, and then they have blessed me with the greatest gift of all, the grandchildren. And then just the good Lord, we're blessed. We thank him every day for blessing us and continuing to bless us. And we will continue to go out there and work hard. And I could not do any of this without Ward, my husband of 34 years. He's my cheerleader, but he's much more than that. He handles the marketing. He keeps my head on straight some days. I always say he tolerates me well.
You two are so cute together. I don't know. You're kind of at the top of like, you know, I love husbands that are raving fans of their wives, and he definitely is that. So Ward, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
Keep it up, buddy. Good job. Good job.
We did grow up together. I mean, we dated all through high school sweethearts, college. So, you know, we've evolved and changed and grown. And now we're those grandparents sitting in our rockers and we're loving it, absolutely loving it. And then I guess the last thing I would like to say is, and we share this with our children too, is never miss an opportunity to help someone when they're down and they need help, because you never know when you're going to need that help. So we try to instill that in our children, that you just, if someone needs help, you be there to help them, because you never ever know when the wheels are going to turn and change, and you might be that one. So always be there to give a helping hand and be kind to the world.
Oh, girl. Well, like you said, you've been blessed, and I'm excited because I know you'll be continued to be blessed in all of the things, and it's a beautiful thing to watch you also bless others and take people with you along the way, and with your big heart. Keep being you. We are so honored and proud to be in business with you. I know I speak for all of us. I'm so proud of you, and we'll be here cheering you on and supporting you, and we'll navigate this all together. But that playing to win mindset is everything. And you guys get to decide. So again, if you're listening to this and you're not having the success in life that you want, you're just one decision away, one habit away from having a different life. And Kathryne, you're a great role model for living a great life. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.